And I'm joined here today by a number of distinguished guests. You'll be hearing from some of them. We are here today and very excited to come together and launch the start of our new certification program for Connecticut's registrars of voters. This is something that has been years in the making, and with the passage of legislation last year, it's finally come to fruition. It's been a strong partnership between my office, the Registrars of Voter Association of Connecticut, the State Elections Enforcement Commission, and the University of Connecticut School of Business that's playing a key role in delivering the program around the state. The goal of the program is simple. It's to improve everyone's election experience. This includes, of course, the registrars who often work very hard for little pay to run the elections in our state, but it also will help poll workers, election moderators, and ultimately, and most importantly, the voters of Connecticut. So I'm going to give you a brief overview of the certification and training program for registrars and then turn it over to everyone else to describe the program in detail and illustrate their own roles in what we've put together here. First, let me introduce everyone that's up here today. We have Melissa Russell, President of ROVAC, the Registrar of Voters Association of Connecticut. We also have Michael Brandy, the Executive Director of the State Elections Enforcement Commission, the Election Enforcement Commission, or SEEC, as it's known, Staff Attorney Kevin Ahern, who worked very hard in actually designing the program. We also have with us Dean John Elliott, Dean of the UConn School of Law, Business School, who will be talking about UConn's role in all of this, and Attorney Karen Fazouliadis, who is the faculty member who will be leading the certification and training program. So, and thank you, all of you. So as you may or may not know, the Connecticut General Assembly and Governor Malloy earlier this year enacted some very significant election reforms. And one of the key pieces of this reform was that all registrars of voters would be certified within 2 years of that law's taking effect. I believe this to be a very worthy investment of time and resources because even though many registrars are very experienced and have been on the job for years, there are always new regulations and new laws that impact their job. We sometimes find that even the most diligent registrar may not be aware of some of the changes in the law, and that requires some change in the way an election is run at the local level. And I think we all recognize that the role of the Registrar of Voters has changed over the years. The elections have become more heavily regulated at both the state and federal level and increasingly involve a greater degree of technology. And that will be very important in the years to come. So this all requires certain basic professional standards, and that's why this certification process is designed to implement just that. Registrars themselves have been asking for more professional development opportunities and training, and I'm pleased that through this program we can finally provide that. There are other states that provide similar certification programs, and it's really designed as almost like a career ladder, a stepping stone to doing other things. So I think this certification will be very valuable for the registrars themselves. Once a registrar becomes certified, there will also be yearly training requirements for each of them to stay up to date on any changes in the law. A statutory committee was actually formed a number of years ago and has been working on developing this curriculum for many years. It's a collaboration among our office, State Elections Enforcement, and the Registrars of Voters Association. And I'll just give you the names of the committee members who were included on the committee that developed the curriculum. There's Anne Marie Mastroianni of Bethlehem, who chaired the committee, Vice Chair Carol Young-Kleinfield from Wilton, Carol Hurley of Wethersfield, and John Vesey from Darien. So I want to thank them right now for their hard work, and I know it was a lot of work to put this together. I am now going to be happy to turn things over to our partners in this effort in just a moment. I want to just briefly go over what this training program will entail and how it will be delivered. The certification program is broken down into 9 modules, the first of which is actually launching next week. And here you see a basic overview of the requirements for all registrars and then the units that will be offered as part of the curriculum. The first module, which begins next week actually, will cover election administration and the law, where we are, how we got here. This will also cover what state and federal agencies are involved in elections and review some election law precedents. We'll also go over federal legislation that has a major impact on local election administration and how a registrar might search for and find relevant election-related law and regulation. The second module, Unit 2, will cover more practical topics: how to register to vote, how a citizen becomes a voter, and some instruction on using our statewide voter registration database. So we'll go over topics like the yearly canvass to remove and add new voters, how voters get party privileges, and other similar procedural topics. The third unit covers management issues, hiring deputies, other support staff, keeping records, that sort of thing. And then, as you can see here, there'll be other separate modules on various other recounts, preparing for elections, election day, post-election audits, dealing with petitions and petition signatures, absentee voting, supervised absentee voting. So those are the basics of the subject matter. And as you can see, there's a lot to it. How are we going to do this? Let me talk about the partnership with the UConn School of Business, which is critical in making this whole certification program possible. The program will be taught through the UConn School of Business CITI program. That's the Connecticut Information Technology Institute. This is a distance learning program. Classes will be taught at a UConn campus, which can also be attended remotely by a registrar at any of the UConn campuses by a live video feed. This is critical, as you can imagine, because we have 169 towns all over the state, and so this possibility of having a remote learning system is critical to us being able to deliver these services. The default broadcasting campus will be in Stamford, and remote learning access will be available at the UConn School of Business here in Hartford, as well as campuses in Waterbury, Groton, and Torrington. So as you can see, it pretty much covers the state. We're very grateful for this partnership. It is what has made it possible for us. So I'm now going to turn this over to John Elliott. He's the Dean of the UConn School of Business. Thank you so much, Dean, for being here and for the partnership that's making this possible.
Thank you, Commissioner. The School of Business is pleased and honored to provide this educational service, which will strengthen the Registrar of Voters program in Connecticut and bring greater clarity and professionalism to the state's election process. Professor Karen Fasiliotis is an attorney practicing in Connecticut and New York. She's also served as a poll worker in her hometown. She helped devise the curriculum. She's excited to meet the registrars and is eager to support them in their success. I'm sure she will be happy to answer questions after this program concludes. We're prepared to deliver these programs, as the Commissioner indicated, on our beautiful campuses in professional and comfortable classrooms using sophisticated technology that is already in place for distance learning. It's sponsored through CITI, the Connecticut Information Technology Institute. This will make it easy and convenient for registrars throughout the state to study wherever is closest to their location and simplify their task as they seek accreditation. Anyone who would like to learn more is welcome to go to the website city.uconn.edu. That's citi.uconn.edu, where the program is presented in more detail and where people have already begun to register for these classes. In addition to providing outstanding education for our students, the university is committed to continuously serving the state, municipalities, and other organizations. This program is just one of many professional and career development opportunities that we are happy to afford our residents each year. So it's been a real pleasure for us to engage with the Commission and the Registrar of Voters to bring this to pass. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We also have representatives from each of the organizations that has participated here today. Melissa Russell, President of ROVAC, I'd like to call her up to say a few words as well. Thank you, Melissa, and thank you for all your work on
Thank
this.
you, Secretary. Really, the people to thank are the registrars of this committee who worked so hard in putting this together. My counterpart happens to be the chair. She worked very, very hard. She's been passionate about certification for registrars for as long as I've known her, and it's something that we're very, very excited about starting. We're excited to be registering. More education is always a good thing for all of us. It's a good thing for the public, and it's especially a good thing for elected officials. So we are delighted that this is finally off the ground. It's been a long time coming, so.
And now I'd like to call on Kevin Ahern, who's an attorney with Seek, who really worked hard to make this happen and worked very diligently on the committee. And I want to thank him publicly for all the work he did on this.
Thank you. Thank you. I was asked to speak for the committee very briefly just on our process. My name is Kevin Ahern. My day job is as a staff attorney for the Elections Enforcement Commission. But Michael Brandy was kind enough to lend me out to this committee with pretty much no restrictions on the time that I could spend on this work. Just very briefly, the CRTCC, the Connecticut Registrar Training and Certification Committee, is a statutory committee. We started this iteration of the committee, although the committee itself has been around for a long time. This iteration that brought this to pass, we met first in January 2014, and I remember very vividly sitting down and walking through what our mandate was. And pretty much, we had to bring a certification program to 338 registrars, 338 deputy registrars, and I don't know how many assistant registrars, in a state that spans, 5,000 plus square miles for a budget of roughly $0. So that's where we started from, and that was the elephant that we had to get through. And as they say, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And we chipped away, and we chipped away, and we chipped away. Started with the certification criteria, and then we moved on to the curriculum. Once that was built, however, we all sort of looked at each other and realized, wow, none of us actually have any pedagogical experience. We don't know really how to build an education program, and that's when we went out and started to seek an educational partner. And I'll tell you, when UConn walked in the room, all the pieces came together. They just knew exactly what to do. It was Debbie Gunzelman that we first met, and she just walked in, and it was just like, okay, take this, please. You know exactly what to do here. So we're really enormously grateful to the dean and to the School of Business for bringing this to us. And really, we can't think of a better educational partner to hand this program off to. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And I'd like to invite Michael Brandy, Executive Director of SEEK, to come and say a few words. And again, thank him not only for lending Kevin to us, but also for your participation in this effort.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Once again, I'm Michael Brandy. I'm the Executive Director and General Counselor for the State Elections Enforcement Commission. And on behalf of our agency and our commissioners, I'm so pleased to be here today to celebrate the launch of this training and certification program. Just anecdotally, I came on board in 2012, and there were many iterations of this committee that had gone on. And Kevin, who had been involved with it and had come to seek my advice as to how do we keep this process moving forward. And I credit the Secretary and Deputy Secretary Spallone, who had a meeting with us, and we started seeing the common problems that we were all seeing from both the election administration side and our enforcement side. And we said, you know what, we need to pull this together. We need to really prioritize this and make training and certification something that is mandatory and is something that's looked at as a benefit for both the election administration officials as well as the citizens of the state of Connecticut. And so it was 2 years ago we had that meeting, and we're so pleased to see the final launch of this program today. So on behalf of SEEK, I congratulate the committee, congratulate the Secretary for the legislation as well as her efforts with the pulling together the curriculum and the training program. And I look forward to continuing the process, because this is a process. And we look forward to seeing the curriculum grow and expand and be a benefit for all elections officials in the state of Connecticut. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And finally, I'd like to offer the faculty member who will be teaching this course an opportunity to say a few words. Karen, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Secretary. Well, as I stand before you, really, all the heavy lifting wasn't done by me in the development of this curriculum. The heavy lifting was really done by the committee of registrars and officials within our government. I had the easy part. I just had to write what they wanted. But one of the things that I did learn in preparing the material was that all of our election materials are all over the place on the web, and it's very difficult, as far as I can tell, being a registrar, to find where all this material is. So hopefully through this coursework and through the learning that will occur on both sides of the fence, because I'm learning as well, I think that we'll be able to establish a program that is a model really for the states and for Connecticut in teaching election law. So I'm looking forward to, with a lot of enthusiasm and with a lot of vigor, and to get started on Monday. And I thank you all for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. And finally, I want to thank the two people in my office who really provided the leadership for this. Number one, of course, is Peggy Reeves, the election director. She herself was a registrar for 14 years in Wilton, and she really brought new leadership to this committee. And of course, Lou Button, an attorney in my office, who really helped bring this together and has been a real point person. So both of them, I know, worked very hard on this, particularly Lou. Thank you for stepping up and providing leadership on this. I would be happy to take more questions. This course is going to start on Monday, and so it will launch out. We hope that all registrars will participate, and we already apparently have some sign-ups even before it's actually up officially. So I think there's a lot of enthusiasm out there for this, and I think it's critically important that we have this great program that will standardize our procedures across the state and really provide much more, possibilities for our registrars and other election officials who work so hard. So thank you, and with that, I'll take any questions anyone has. They have 2 years in which to pass these courses. The modules, I should say, are about 1 or 2 hours in length, I believe, right? And, they must take and pass the courses to remain a registrar. Yes. I think I'll turn to someone else who knows more about it. Yes,
The final exam, which must be passed with a score of 90%, can be taken 5 times before they have to take the course over again. Each individual course, they can take that test twice.
Anyone else? Right. A lot of that is procedural, if you want to address that, Mike. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, one of the things we see on the enforcement side is common questions that come up related to absentee balloting or just process. And so what this will hopefully do is make sure that the registrars have an educational forum where they're up to date on changes to the law, where there's no formal process right now other than for the conventions where all our agencies try to work with each of the registrar's offices to make sure that they're up to date on new changes to the law. But election law can be very complex. And so this will allow for a real formal process whereby new registrars coming in are educated in the law and understand the roles, and hopefully will cut down on cases that we see, which quite often on our docket you'll see cases that are minor fines and violations just because people don't understand potentially nuances or changes to the law. So hopefully this will clarify it and give them an opportunity to really have a wholesale approach to the to understanding election law.
If the registrar continues to fail the restore, what teeth does the state have for
Basically, as I understand it, you would wait till, first of all, you have 2 years. So most of these people are elected for 4-year terms. So within that 2 years, I'm sure we would make every effort to get them through the process. So, but if it happened that someone just couldn't pass the tests, then they would have to not run the next time, as I understand the law. Is that right, Kevin? They wouldn't be able to pass the test, so they would not be eligible.
So this is could be considered a barrier?
Yeah, I can remove. I mean, I can remove for negligence as well under the new law, but I could remove temporarily. Yes. Yes, there are two different sections on removal. Yes, the permanent removal would be for gross negligence. That would be a permanent removal. This would be a temporary. This could be a temporary removal for something like this where someone didn't pass the tests.
Thinking of the way this is structured, the whole point is to get people trained.
Right.
Correct.
Not to say,
This is not.
pass this test, you're out.
That's right.
Correct.
And that's why you can hear me struggling a little bit here, because the point is to get people on the same page. You know, up until now, besides the training, the trainings that our office has provided at these ROVAC conferences, there's really been no direct way to train particularly new people, except it's kind of a buddy system where they'll go to more established registrars and ask them how to do the job, or perhaps the former one would teach them what the ropes were. But in many cases, you know, there's 169 towns, and a lot of people are doing things different ways, and sometimes have not caught up with the law on some of these things, particularly around record keeping and that sort of thing, and how to do canvasses, and it is complicated. So this provides us a way to get everybody on the same page. That's the way I think of it. I am not that focused on punitively removing people from office if they don't pass the test. We're going to do everything we can to get everyone through the process.
And I would just add that, of course, the instructor will be clarifying things in such a way that they will be passing the exams.
Right. They can't. It's a requirement that the town pay for the training under the legislation. And no one has asked yet, but I'll tell you anyway, the estimated cost is about $1,600 for the entire course. And it's a... Yes, it is. Yes. I don't know, Steve, but I feel this one is worth it. $1,600 is a pretty nominal cost over a 2-year period for even the smallest town, and that is, the basic price you pay for democracy. We want there to be a certain standard across the state. Every voter should have the same experience in every town. That's, well, that's up to the legislature, and I can say that now that I'm not there. We did originally propose that the state pay. On the other hand, traditionally the towns have paid all costs for elections. Over the years, the state has provided millions and millions of dollars for equipment, particularly following the 2000 election. That was federal money. The state has never provided funding for elections. Really, it's all paid for at the local level. And that's why it's so decentralized. These are, town employees, essentially. So that's why it was felt that the towns should pay these costs as well.
Was any thought given to having local parties, perhaps?
I don't...
I'm sure that would have been a
Well, yeah, I'm not sure I would support something like that. I mean, this is fundamentally, it's about our elections. It has to be as clearly paid for by the appropriate authority as possible. So, and that would be the towns. The towns are charged with operating the elections, so it's a charge that they need to bear. And it's a very nominal charge. I think it was probably an impetus. It had been underway for years. It had languished. It was not seen as something, it had just been sitting, and people had been trying to decide what the curriculum should look like. And certainly, as more things start being uncovered, we begin to see the disparities, and that's a problem. And so, yes, I think it definitely was an impetus toward getting this done. Okay. Well, if nobody else has any questions, thank you very much again to the committee and all the people who worked on this. It really was a big job, and we're very pleased with the partnership with UConn, so thank you to UConn in particular. Thanks so much.